6, Book 7, Book 8, Book 9.
Yeah. An interlude. We gotta get to the good stuff here. Do you feel the power? Jane's favorite song.
Oh, I love it.
I heard this too many times.
I randomly just say it all week around the home here.
All right,
Yeah.
that's enough of that. All right, let's pull this down. Hello and good afternoon or morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Live Long and Podcast. This is the Captain's Yacht, a new series here on the channel and in the Live Long and Podcast catalog. Gotta fix that. We got Jane and Dave here. I'm Dave Mader, and we just got back from Star Trek: The Cruise 8, alongside our friend here, Adam Woodward.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking all about our experience on Star Trek: The Cruise 2025, the 8th Star Trek cruise altogether. Talking about our collective experience, the adventures, the ups, the downs, and all those things. So I don't know if you have seen the video that they've released.
I have, yes.
But maybe we could.
Are we in it?
Yeah. No, not that I saw.
Not that I saw,
No.
but hey, like there may be a couple things you missed here, so I thought maybe we could have a little bit of a live reaction to the video. It's only 2 minutes or so, and maybe help jog our memories, as it's been about a week almost since we got back, and then we're going to talk all about everything we went through here. So let's bring that in here first. Costume party. I went to bed early that night.
I was down there. walking around.
I was at that session. I didn't go to that.
What was the wine tasting? It was.
Tequila.
Well, that was, you did the ballet lesson.
The bad bitch birthday party.
Those people had those questions on all week.
Yeah, yeah. Family Feud night.
Congratulations, you are now even more married.
We didn't go to the vow renewal, Jane.
No, but someone did ask me if I had, because I was wearing that white blue dress that night.
Tim Russ.
Man, what's going on there? Those are fun.
Opera night.
That was great.
Okay,
That was the highlight
so,
of that opera, I think.
so that's just a little bit of a trailer in terms of what we went through, experienced while we were on the cruise. But there's much more to that adventure than that. Of course, we had never been on the Star Trek cruise before, not the three of us. It was originally supposed to be the four of us. So maybe that's where we'll start our story here. So, I don't know. When did we decide we were going on this cruise? I can't quite decide.
It was,
now.
you asked us about February last year.
It was about a year ago. Just over a year ago, I suppose.
Or no, I think it was January. It was early.
January.
Yeah, it was January. Yeah.
Right, and we knew it was too late for the cruise that year, which I guess was Star Trek: The Cruise 7. So we signed up for 8, and so it was Jane and I and you and Callie. We had our away team set, and it was we knew that you were going to be in Florida the week before
Yeah, I had a
business.
business meeting down there on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and half of Friday. So yeah.
Right. So that originally, so we knew that about a month ahead of our departure, and then the plan was, Callie, Jane, and I would fly down and meet you. And leading up to that week, there was just a lot happening as well in the world. There was like all the tariffs and the trade war looming with Trump. There was also this crash at the Toronto airport on the Monday before we left. We left on that Saturday, and there was a Delta flight. You're probably aware of it, but depending on when you're listening to this in the future, maybe it's old news by then. And so everyone lived in that crash, but that's the airport that we're taking off from. So there was kind of like, wow, is this going to affect our trip or affect our flights? And all that was sort of looming. Was there anything else I'm forgetting, Jane,
Nope.
in terms of that?
It was also we also had a giant storm through Ontario that weekend before.
True. Yeah. Oh, there was this massive snowstorm leading up to it as well, and so which is kind of a factor, I think, in that Delta crash that happened on the Monday. Potentially, it was very windy that day. I don't think they still know all the causes, but
No,
I think
you guys going to take some time to do that.
right.
But the sad thing was that my wife couldn't join us because of some family illness, so we made that call late in the week. But that's the way it was. And then another story that happened was, and let's just get this out of the way because it's important.
Well, you're fast forwarding, but yes. So we found on the Friday Callie was not going to be able to come, and we were very sad about that. But it's okay. Well, we're going to make the best with the three of us. And then so we met you. You picked us up at the airport.
So I drove down to Miami from Orlando on Saturday morning. Picked you guys up at the airport around noon.
Yeah,
we went over to our hotel and see if we could check in.
We tried, and then we did, but then we said, "Hey, let's go get some food." So we tried to look up Rocco's Tacos, and that was a whole adventure in itself. We ended up like plugging the closest location into the GPS, and that took us to the Fort Lauderdale airport. You had picked us up at the Miami airport, so we drove all the way to the Fort Lauderdale airport to realize it was taking us to the Rocco's Tacos in the airport, which was not the most practical option.
And we were starving at this point.
We were hungry. Yeah. It was, the flight, was leading down there. We were delayed about an hour, but otherwise it was not too painful getting to Miami. So then we finally got to this other location in Fort Lauderdale near the beach. But then you dropped us off, and it was like, I think you were looking for a parking spot for the next half an hour.
Found one, and then basically was trying to pay on one of those pay apps, but it wouldn't let me pay, and I was like, I don't want to take it. But it turned out it was Saturday, and they don't charge on Saturdays, but there's no signs that say that. So
there was there was all that, but then we finally did get our guacamole, and it worked out. And then I think we all went to bed. Oh no, and then that night before we also went down to the Hilton. And we met some of the other cruisers. They were having kind of a social, even though we weren't staying at that hotel. It was just about a kilometer walk.
Which is the official hotel that had the discount with the cruise, the Hilton.
Yeah. So a lot of the cruisers were staying there.
But they didn't have an official pre-party, which I think they had last year, which I was a little bit disappointed in. But there was a lot of turnout for cruisers, which is nice. And so that was interesting. We met a few people that night. We met the woman with the Spock bear. I'm trying to remember her name, from Bloomington, Indiana, who was behind the Janeway statue. Mm-hmm. She was present. A couple others, but no long-lasting friendships were made that night per se. But we made the acquaintance of a few people, and then the next day I went for a run. Figured out that. Around that area, there's a lot of chickens just wandering around Miami, which was another revelation for me. I scared a couple as I was kind of just running across the side. Yeah, I'm getting to it, Jane. She's like, let's get to the cruise.
There's a story to tell. We have a podcast here, And so anyway, then we finally decided, okay, we're getting the shuttle over. We're going to try to get to the cruise as early as possible.
We took the first shuttle.
We took the first shuttle available, which was like at 9:30 in the morning. And, we're like, hey, where's Adam? He's a little slow coming down, this is not like him, right? And then I have a feeling you were looking for something.
No, I was not at that point. I was not.
Oh, okay. So there was no direct correlation. There was a huge traffic jam getting to the port itself that day.
Well, the
thought we
guy
would be
couldn't
there.
even lift the bags. I had to help him. Remember, the driver, he was so small and short. He just couldn't.
Oh yeah, and there was other members. There was mostly the
Yeah.
people in our shuttle were on our cruise, but there was two other people who were on another cruise. But
It
there
was
was like
very,
nine.
very full.
It was like 9 ships in the port that morning, and which is normally there's 6. So there was just like this massive gridlock and pandemonium as they were trying to deboard the ships and get all these 9 ships done. And we got it off pretty early and easy in that traffic jam, considering
Well, it took us an hour and a half to get there when it should have been
Which is
20.
13
kilometers.
kilometers. 13
Yeah.
kilometers. That's it.
which is about like a little over an hour walk normally, right? We're not talking a lot of distance, although it was across like airports and things like that, and highways, which, but it not at much distance, right? So some people I understand did get out of their Ubers and their cabs and just
Absolutely.
and gave up on it.
Rumor that
I
somebody
saw-
was actually hit or hurt badly. So I hope that didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah, there was an accident. But yeah, some people had like $200-300 Uber trips, cab fares, because it was just such gridlock.
Yeah. So that was a whole thing. And then we get there, and we check our bags with into the thing. And
So,
we get
so on the
line.
way there is when I sort of realized, and I was looking in my work bag, and I thought, where is it? I'm going through every pocket looking for my passport, and I'm going, So it wasn't in there. And then I
Right.
started looking on Royal Caribbean website, and it clearly says passports are recommended but not necessary. And I go, okay, well, I'm good. I've got my Nexus card. I'll be fine. But remember, we waited like 2.5 hours outside, and it was raining at one point too.
Yeah, we get there at 11.
11.
11. It
10
was
to 11 we
an
got
hour and a
there.
half to get that, like what would normally be a 10-minute drive, right? So it was a long haul there. You were in the front of the shuttle. We were in like more near the back, so we weren't even really talking at that point. But
We were in a shuttle.
we were in a shuttle, not like a Starfleet shuttle, but a shuttle.
A Sprinter shuttle.
A Sprinter shuttle. You were near the driver, who I understand was losing his mind.
Oh, he's losing his mind. Losing his mind. Like,
Right.
and
But-
you got to figure these guys get paid probably by the trip, not by the hour. So I feel kind of bad for them. But
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to squeeze in everywhere, honking everybody, giving everybody the finger. It was very stressful sitting next to that guy. I got to tell you.
Yeah, it was.
And then
you're looking for your passport.
Well, I'm searching for my passport. Yeah.
You can't find it now. Wasn't he telling you? No, don't worry about it as long as you have your birth certificate or something.
No.
like
The
that?
other guy said that when we got off.
When we got off. Okay, but that would only apply to Americans, and we are, of course.
Well, that's what we
Canadians.
learned later because we went in line. We talked to people in the line, that guy Ron for a while.
Ron Rice.
Ron Rice, and finally got moving, got checked through security, and then we're all happy. We get up to the counter. You guys check in. You're on your way. Great. And I get to the counter, hand my Nexus card, and she goes, "No problem. This is good." And then she went away and brought back somebody who said, "Where's your passport?" And I go, "Well, I don't have it with me, but it might be in my bag I checked." So at that point, they said, "Fine, we'll bring it up to you." So I went and sat in some little room with about 5 other people who had done the same things, and waited for a long time. But what the challenge now was is that the clock's counting down. You guys are on board, and they're leaving at 4 o'clock or something. That's it. It's done.
That's when the ship pulls out. Well, yeah. So we left you at security. Like, don't worry about it. You said worst case they'll pull my bag and we'll get this figured out. And Jane, who's always very organized and making sure, like, if I don't know where my passport is, it's very much an issue. So we were just kind of like, what's happening here? Why do we? There was a nervousness because we had just lost Callie from the trip, like maybe 24 hours early, and now it was looking like we were going to lose you, potentially, and we kind of did. Well, we misplaced you for a couple days, as it will turn out.
But what happened was, in the end, is like as I'm searching through my check bag, I was like, okay, what did I do? And what I realized is that I also had another bag that went with me for work, and all my work stuff was in there. And when I was dropping my workmates off at the airport on Friday, I had given my bag to one of them. Hey, let me take it back, take some pressure off you. And I said, sure, but it was in there. So let me tell you what I did. At that point, I had to sequence things in my mind. Okay, first of all, can I get, because they're not letting me on the cruise. First of all, I told you I'm not coming. Right. Oh, by the way, guys, when they couldn't find your bags weren't in your room. They brought me all the bags.
Oh, because we went to our room and like we were texting back and forth, but I was only getting signal like maybe near the window, or if I went into the depths of the ship, I was kind of getting blocked off. So we were just kind of, and we were also waiting to see if the bags would show up at the room because it took them a while to find them, a few hours, I think. While this massive traffic jam is happening around Miami.
Well, I mean, Cali got a notification from Royal Caribbean saying there's a real problem with like congestion in the place. Please be ready for that. But anyway, what I had to do was like, okay, first of all, will the cruise allow me to board at a port down the road? And so I found out yes, they could do that. That was the first thing. And then I had to get back to Toronto. But before I did that, I had to call my work friend and said, hey, can you look in my bag and see if it's there? He called me back. Yep, it's there. And I go, okay, let me find a hotel. Because my earliest I could get into Toronto was 1 a.m. So we were going to drop at a hotel. I was going to pick it up and then go back to the airport. So anyway, long and short, I found a flight back to Toronto. We got in at 3 a.m. I was a little worried about this now because of the turnaround time, because I also had a flight to Cozumel at 6 a.m. So I had no time to spare here. So I got off the plane, grabbed my bag, checked it to go to Cozumel, went to the airport, picked up, had a quick shower and a 20-minute nap, and then went back to the airport for my 6:15 a.m. Cozumel flight through United. So flew to Houston, enjoyed that airport for half an hour, and then flew to Cozumel. I also booked a resort for a night over in Cozumel while you guys caught up to me on Wednesday morning, which I joined you. I was there by 8 o'clock, 8:30. I think we had breakfast.
Yes, by the Wednesday. So yeah, but there was this. Well, like I know you just kind of went into, okay, I got to go home. I got to get my passport. I need to try to figure this out. And Jane and I were just like, oh my god, poor Adam. And feeling that loss of like losing you on for those few days, but we're like, okay, like I think we were like, okay, so finally when it was figured out, you can't come back. We had to come back through security to get that bottle of wine that you were gonna.
Did you get that through?
Yeah.
I forgot to ask.
But
I guess technically we shouldn't have because.
We already had to.
We already had to. Yeah.
But it was kind of a whole thing where, so when you said, okay, come back and get the wine, and so we had to get through security, and they're like, no, we're leaving soon. You can't leave. Or we're like, no, we have to go see our friend. We need the wine. And we have to, like, I don't know. We didn't know what else.
And I was freaking out because Dave's like, we're going. I'm like, what if we don't get back on?
Yeah.
They
had to scan us off, and it was kind of like they were having to radio for special permissions, but and so we kind of like finally get through all that, and we find you, and you're on the phone at that point, and you're like here, and you gave us like I think a costume and the wine, and we're like, okay, bye, like I think at that point you were hoping to meet up with us on the Tuesday in Costa Maya, but we're like, okay, well. We'll see you in 2 days. It ends up being
there was no close airport to fly into in Mexico that would have made anywhere near financial sense, so I didn't do that.
Yes. Yeah, so Jane and I, so after we realized, okay, like Adam's not getting on board with us, so we go up to the pool deck.
Dave, this was the awful part for me.
Yeah, awful. And us too. Like we were, like even though we were on the ship, and I'd rather be where we were than where you were. It was like we had that empathy for you and not having this experience together. So yeah, we're at this party and like all the celebrities are coming out, and Jane and I we need a drink like after all that, and so we ordered a couple cocktails, and I don't know, we were up there on the deck, and they all the celebrities come out and they do their little 2 minutes of talk. Was there anything else you remember from that?
No, it was bittersweet, very exciting. But we knew Adam was not there. But
so I could see Dave because Dave had his red hat and his red shirt on. Our curling.
Yeah, this is a picture of us in line before we actually got through security. This is before we realized that you're not going to get on.
So how did you see us, Adam?
Dave was on the railing.
Okay.
He was standing on the railing, and unless it was somebody else wearing a hat and a red shirt, but that's what I assumed it was him. But what was the cheers that were going off the boat at this point were like disheartening. So I had to get that heck out of there and went to the airport.
Yeah. So like, these pictures are taking a second to load up, but yeah. So then we started. We it was just kind of like it was hard for even us to celebrate in that moment, because we're on the ship, of course, but it's also like, oh, poor Adam.
All right.
And so what else? But then okay, you were on your way. We were on a different path at that point. The Sunday night, it was. I guess we went to dinner, right, Jane? That was the show with the Family Feud that night, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all the celebs came out. They do like their 2 minutes, and then we went back to our room, and it was the Gorn pajama party for that Sunday night.
That's right. We went for dinner and we were seated at a large table with a bunch of different people. Initially, we had set up to have a table for the 4 of us. With the reservation, we never used that once.
Right.
So every night we sat at.
We were Red Pass card holders, meaning we were early dinner, late show each night. And so we're telling the story to some of the people we meet of like what happened with you, and they're like, okay, he's going to join us in like 2 days, and everybody's like, is he allowed to do that? That doesn't sound right, And then after I got that question like 6 million times every time we told the story, you were just kind of like, don't worry about it in the chat, and we're like, I hope he's right, But
I had my permission. I had my email. I was good.
Yeah, we didn't have that specific part of the detail, right? So we were just like, we think so. But we also heard a story that night too. We went to like the Deck 8 social, and they were like, Terry Farrell forgot her passport one year, and she had to fly back to New Mexico and then drive from Albuquerque to Santa Fe to get it, and then she made it back in time. But we're like, if Terry Farrell couldn't get on the ship, then Adam was definitely not getting on the ship without his passport, right?
So the first night was every night has a theme on the Star Trek cruise.
Oh.
Well,
we lost Adam.
We lost Adam
For a second
He'll
here.
be back, though.
He'll be back.
2-3 days.
It happens. It happens with us and him sometimes.
So every night is a theme party on the cruise. The first night was the Gorn.
The Gorn.
Then the second night is Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
And then Thursday night was Ryza, the Ryza Festival of the Moon. Fourth night is the Star Trek Formal.
Holodeck malfunction.
Oh, Holodeck Malfunction. And then there's a Star Trek Formal night. And then the Q's Costume Party, which is the not the last night on the ship, but the last night last theme night.
Yes.
So the first night was the Gorn
pajama party, which I just wore my original series uniform, because they're always saying that original series is like pajamas.
Mm-hmm. And I wore green pajamas and some welcome
back, Adam.
Sunglasses of Gorn sunglasses.
And so the Sunday night show was also this Family Feud thing where the fans went against this team of Voyager. It was Jerry Ryan, Robert Duncan McNeil. There was who else was on that? Garrett Wong, and I can't even remember who the fourth was. But but I don't know. That show was okay. I thought it was, but I thought I would have rather seen like 2 sets of celebrities go against each other than the fans, because it was like the fans were doing much better. They were much better at the game. They were kind of winning every round. I wouldn't have mounted like a Voyager versus Deep Space Nine, or they could have figured something else out there, maybe different. So we met up with Sean Farrick too that first night. With him, he was we kind of just passed him in that Starfleet Academy bar, and instead he gave me a hug, and then we ended up sitting together for that whole show. Then he's like, I'm with my partner here, and I only met Sean a couple times on the podcast. I thought he meant business partner. We lost Adam again, so I was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, and then we met Stefan, who I thought was like his YouTube partner, but it turned out to be romantic partner. So I remember I said, oh, you're like his Chris, like referring to Chris Worldmind. But no, he's more like his Jane, it turned out. So, okay, there he is back again. Hey, Adam.
It won't happen again.
Anyway,
Film your hands, Adam. Don't touch anything. Okay.
Yeah. And then also on that last night, we watched. So we went with Sean and Stefan, and we met up Jesse Gender from that channel. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we watched First Contact Under the Stars.
Yeah, that was good.
Did you watch the full movie up there?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, we watched the whole movie. It was really fun. I actually really enjoyed that. It was the only time we really did that outside. You liked that night?
Mm-hmm. That was fun. Yeah.
So, the Tuesday was a port. No, that was the Monday. That was a travel day. at sea. So and it rained all that night or the whole day. So I remember I was like, hey, I want to go run. And they had this running track, and I saw a couple people trying to use it in this like rainstorm. So I was like, I'm going to do it too. And it was quite wet. So I get off the when that was all done. It was kind of incredible to be like in the middle of the ocean and running in the rain. And so I get into this the elevator with an elderly couple, and I'm like, you seem like a little older for Star Trek fans. Kind of struck me as odd. But then we went to the Voyager panel shortly after that, and the first panel, which had Tim Russ and Garrett Wang and Robert Duncan McNeil and Jerry Ryan and Brendan Braga. And Garrett Wang says, my parents are here. My parents are here on the cruise. And I was like, I bet that was Garrett Wang's parents I met, because he was like, he asked me like, how many laps did you do? And like, me and Garrett Wang's father, Harry Kim from Star Trek Voyager, he's like, we were timing you. It was taking you about a minute to do each lap. And I was like, oh, then I probably did about like 36 laps and everything else. So I don't know. That was kind of something I figured out sort of after the fact. But that was like the first panel we got to go to. I really enjoyed that, even though I thought they decided to split the Voyager cast up. They because they knew Kate Mulgrew was not there, much like she was supposed to be there the first day, but she canceled I think the day before and was like, I'm going to come on Wednesday, which is when Adam also came on. And what was the show that night? I'm trying to recall.
You had the list?
I do have the list actually. So the day 2 show was the Rat Pack we saw that night.
Oh yeah, you saw the Rat Pack.
Yeah, that was excellent. I really, really enjoyed that.
So if you don't know, the Rat Pack is it's Casey Biggs and Jeffrey Combs from Deep Space Nine, Vaughn Armstrong, most notably from Star Trek Enterprise, and usually it's Max Grodenchek, also Rom from Deep Space Nine, but he had canceled in the days leading up to it, so he was kind of replaced by Ethan Phillips, Neelix from Star Trek Voyager, that night, and like mostly as like a comedic foil, because they split up. There was the Rat Pack, and then there was also this opera show that Robert Picardo was doing, but because I guess they didn't want to do 2 performances of that opera in a night, they split it up. Which worked out for you, Adam, because by the time you got to the ship, you got to see both shows.
I saw both. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, which was good. But the Rat Pack is probably my favorite show. You see a bit of this in the Deep Space Nine documentary. But it was really cool to see that in person. I laughed. That Casey Biggs, he's so charismatic. He's like kind of the Sinatra of that team, and him and the banter with him and Jeffrey Combs was so good. I really enjoyed that whole thing. Is there anything else from that night or that day that you wanted to touch on?
Let me look at the schedule here. We went to the Building an Alien.
Right, I got to
like
meet
that.
with Nicole DeBoer, Esri from Deep Space Nine. That was led by Rob Perlman, who is like a Star Trek author I wasn't really familiar with before the cruise, but he was like kind of leading this panel, like, who's your alien? Where are they from? What planet are they from? There was some really creative choices within the fans in that session. One guy's like, this is my bug man from the planet Bugger. He's a buggy guy. That was mostly what I recall from that. Nicole DeBoer, I go up to after. I was like, hey, Nicole, I used to watch you on this Canadian teen melodrama called Catwalk back in like the 90s, which, I've talked to my other friends about this, where you have to be like basically born between 1982 and 1985 to remember this show at all.
Never heard of it.
No, you guys are a bit... You're like, even if you're born in like 1979, you probably never heard of it because you probably be too old to watch it at that time. It was kind of like a Degrassi sort of a show, but it was about a music band in Toronto. If you remember the episode Deep Space Nine, Valiant with the Red Squad team, there's Captain Waters in that episode, Paul Popowich. He's a guy from Stony Creek. He was also on that show. Nev Campbell was on that show, amongst others.
It was a launching pad day for people.
It was like I talked to her about that. I was like, Nev Campbell's on that show, Nicole, and then she went off to do Party of Five, and then you did that show, and you went off to be in Deep Space Nine, and she's like, that's right. I know it's talked to me about Catwalk in a long time. It was also nice to talk to her about being the only Canadian celebrity on the ship, and that she's like, well, where are you from? I'm like, Burlington, and she knew where that was, which was nice.
So yeah, I'd say that I don't know if we talked about the schedules yet. Every day was full of things to do all day. I think we got to like a quarter of them. It was just, there was a lot going on.
Right.
So day 2,
So,
we got to a couple
my
things.
funniest text from you: are you really coming on board tomorrow on that day, that Tuesday? Because I was sitting around a pool all day in Cozumel.
Yes. Well, yeah. Are we on the Monday or the Tuesday now? In terms of
You're on Tuesday.
we're on Tuesday.
No, we're on Monday.
We're still
Oh
on
my
Monday.
God, you're still on Monday. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still on Monday. Yeah, because the Tuesday was the first port day, which would there would like I found those days tougher because there was not like as many activities going on in the day. Like the whole ship shuts down. You couldn't even go to the casino. Everything shuts down. Even the slot machines.
Yeah, on the Monday on day 2, we went to Chops Grill, one of the specialty restaurants. So you can pay a bit extra to go to. There's the steakhouse, Italian, which they rebranded to Pike's Kitchen. We didn't go to that. Chops Grill, which is the steakhouse, and then Japanese restaurant as well. We didn't go to that. So it was really good. We had a interesting waiter doing magic tricks for us.
Yes, he was from Ukraine.
He was from Ukraine. Yeah, lots of it was Mirror Universe night, so we got dressed up in our Mirror Universe.
Oh, you guys look great that night.
Yeah, see if I can get the shot here. Okay, so here's yeah, this was my Mirror Universe garb compared to my original series garb, which I kind of wore in the day before.
Our cabin was excellent. We had a balcony cabin on deck 8.
Yeah.
No complaints. The ship is about 20 or so years old, which some people, so I think it had a major refit a few years ago. It's a little older, but no complaints. We loved it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just seeing if I have a shot from our balcony. This was kind of the view from our room, and Adam's room was right next to it, although he wasn't there yet at that point. That's us, I guess, as we were leaving Miami that night. From the Gorn, there's us, me and Sean, and then Jane in her Gorn pajamas, Gorn slippers, Jesse Gender, this guy who's not Will Wheaton, and then so I guess that's the next day where I got my picture with Robert Dunk McNeil. He was one of the few I chose. I was like, I'm doing 3, and he's one of them.
Oh, how old is he again, Dave?
He's 50. He's 60 now. He's 60. He just turned 60.
You're looking 60.
Yeah, and I said, hey man, I loved you in Masters of the Universe. I've been a huge fan of yours. He was like, cool. I don't know. You get it like 10 seconds with these people when you get a picture, but it was neat. You can see some of the decorations.
oh
on
yeah,
the door.
so many great door decorations. That's what people do on the magnetic doors. So I went to all the doors, I think.
The whole
pretty
ship,
much.
right? They did a great
Amazing.
job with the signage and the takeover effect of it all, and you really were immersed in it all. This is from that session with Nicole DeBoer and Rob Perlman that day. And then I guess we're stopping by here at the EM. This is where we were sailing, because Robert Dunk McNeil also had like this interesting mask on for a good portion of it, which it was like it had like a window in it, so you could see his mouth move. But and apparently Terry Farrell had referred to it as crotchless panties, which there was kind of the joke that was brought up in the Voyager panel. So we're talking about that. Like he was wearing the mask on the panels, and then but not when he was doing all the pictures with like the hundreds of people coming through. And we're just talking about that, and then at that moment he like walked around the corner, and we're like, did he hear our conversation about him?
Oh, okay. I see a question from Sam. I think we didn't start with. We went on the cruise from February 26th to May.
February 23rd
to March
2nd.
2nd.
Yes.
We went to 2 Mexican ports,
Costa Maya,
Cozumel.
and then to Belize.
Belize.
And it was kind of like 3 days in a row, right? It was like
Yeah, so it was the first day, and the second day was at sea.
So Tuesday,
and
Wednesday,
then-
Thursday were cruise. Or sorry,
Yeah.
port.
Sam asked, why did the casino close when it rained? It didn't close when it was raining. It closed when we were in a port. So if we were when we got to Costa Maya, that was the first port we got to. They were like, you can't even use the slot machines. They were just out of order, and there was no dealer.
But they also use that as a crew rest day. I mean, you got a lot of crew going on board, on land,
Yes.
and taking a day off and whatnot. So because I heard them saying they when I came on board on Wednesday, the crew was leaving, and they go, you got to be back by 4:00 because we sail at 4:30. So.
Exactly. So I was learning the cruise experience as we were going. This is us at the Chops Grill in our Mirror Universe garb, having a good time. And so that was the.
To go back, so our friend made us that dagger there. It's
Kevin
3D
Millard.
printed. Kevin Millard of the podcast
Yeah.
made a dagger and an agonizer as well. I don't know if you can see that on the table. So we.
Yeah, exactly. And I now have them prominently placed in my backdrop here. But it was it was all kind of bittersweet because we were missing you, Adam and Callie, but we were trying to make the best of it here. There's Jane in her Mirror Universe garb because they had this cool like an action figure standee that you could get your pictures in. There we are. Well, and then we also that night got to see the Tim Russ crew. We just had Tim Russ on last night here on the podcast for an interview, and we got to see his show, his music show. Man, he is great. He was a great guitarist, great singer. His whole band was like this kind of classic rock, bluesy swing feeling. I had no idea he played guitar at all. I had no idea he was a musician. I've been a fan of Voyager for most of my life, actually, but I didn't know that detail about him. So that was very cool to see. We missed the part where Ethan Phillips apparently jumped in with a saxophone as well. Mm-hmm. So it was great. I really enjoyed that. There's a shot of Tim with his guitar. And then this is us at the Rat Pack show. There was a lot of people in the Mirror Universe original series.
Yes, we did a group photo.
Your friends.
Yes. We had a great seat, so we got second row there.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing about the cruise was it wasn't super packed. Pretty much you could go to every show you wanted to go to. You didn't have to line up.
Yeah, you could, but you didn't have to. Yeah, just the Rat Pack show.
With 3,000 people, it wasn't like a convention that we go to some fan expo in Toronto where it's just too many people. This was they did a really good job. Like it didn't feel overcrowded at all.
Yeah, you could always get the seat. There's the Andorian. A lot of people were getting like the makeup done. You could pay to get like special makeup done up, and you could. A lot of people walked around that for days. They would get their makeup done, and then like they would never take it off.
Funny story: when we were going at Belize to go on our excursion, a woman who wore Klingon makeup had to cancel. So because she didn't think about it, that to get back on the cruise, you had to show your face, your photo. They had to make sure it was you.
Yeah, if you were in a disguise.
And you're in disguise, you couldn't get back on the ship. So she was trying to cancel her excursion, see if she could get her money back.
Yeah, so this is the day before the Windjammer. Oh, this is when we got to Costa Mile. So you couldn't get there, Adam. So even though you were close by, technically, but you had to wait till the next day. It wasn't that impressive. Jane and I walked around a little bit, but it's kind of like going to the mall, more or less.
Yeah.
I wouldn't it was nice. It was kind of interesting. I thought I might feel something more when I went on to dry land, but it was kind of the same. There we go. How romantic it
Little
is.
smoochy.
There's a shot of our ship. And then there was always like other ships too. Every time we would dock somewhere, there would always be like, well, it was only the two places we docked. There's a shot of the casino. We didn't really play the casino, Sam. I'm not much of a gambler, and we were going to play the slots when we were kind of bored that day a little bit, because there was no like panels or anything like that happening, but we couldn't even do that. So, but it was very well themed with the whole Quarks casino. Really worked well. We played mini putt that day.
Dave kicked my butt in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was not happy I was keeping score. And then I said, well, what's the point?
Oh, you did rock climbing?
I did. I tried rock climbing. I was.
You
not
did the
good at
flow
it.
rider?
I tried that. I was not good at that. There was also that quick panel that night. So there was also this theater called Studio B, which was where the same place Tim Russ had played his music set. And it was so cold in there. It's normally like an ice rink. But it wasn't being used for that. But we saw Robert Duncan McNeil interviewed by Connor Trenier. And I think he also did one with
Roxanne Dawson.
Roxanne Dawson at one point. This was the night of the Rysian Festival of the Moon. I decided to go like Riker theme with a Horgon around my neck for that night.
Which we were at a craft swap, and this couple gave us like these wonderful Horgon necklaces.
Yeah, so we all you had your Rysian theme going on there. and this was the last non-Adam night. Oh, there's the music. I also played that bracket challenge that night. So it was a bracket challenge in the Gorn pub around figuring out the best movie, and I was teamed up with this other guy named David, and we were against this two other fans. It was kind of like a debate 9 almost, like we do here on the podcast, where we had to debate like what's better, like First Contact or Star Trek 1, and you can see the result there. It came down to Generations and First Contact somehow. And I felt like, even though Generations is not always considered the best Star Trek movie, it did pretty well on this.
But there was one in the afternoon as well, which was the best Star Trek villain. And surprising result.
Yeah, the final
Of the
came down
bracket?
to Pring and Harry Mudd from original. It was the best original series villain, and I was like, neither
It
of those
sounds
are
like
really-
people were may have been having a lot of adult beverages on that one.
Yeah, they might. I don't know what they were smoking, but that was what made me want to participate in this movie bracket challenge. Because I was like, I can do better. And then I got up there and I got a little more nervous than I
So
thought.
T'Pring won as best villain for original series.
Right, which I think is, Stranger to Worlds, take note, because maybe she's not the most popular character. There was that guy in the Blue Orion.
Who was that?
I don't know. He was. But
No. I mean, I didn't get who the character was.
Oh, from Star Trek Lower Decks. The Green Orions, Blue Orions. It was,
Oh. Okay.
from-
Okay.
as a
Yeah. Now
reference
I
to
get
the
it.
animated
Now I get it.
series.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got a shot with him. I thought that was a fun some great costumes and cosplay going on here. And then the show that night was a script read of the original series episode, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky, which is not the greatest episode of original series, but so Tawny Newsome was playing Kirk. We had Jeffrey Combs as Spock. We had Ethan Phillips as McCoy in that in particular one. I think Jonathan Del Arco, Hugh, was also Scotty. They got Cecilia Rose Gooding to be Uhura, but she has like 2 lines in the whole script. So her thing was like she would sit at the back and read a book and look annoyed that she was not
Yeah.
being used enough.
Yeah. That was good.
Was that also the night of the Bad Bitch birthday party? Because I think Tawny Newsome and Celia Rose Gooding had like a joint birthday party.
It was.
On the ship. We didn't go to that. Denise Crosby was part of that. You can see Robert Ricardo came in and did this whole thing where, I don't know, he just did this incredible over-the-top performance as one of the aliens before he dies. And they gave him an award for the hammiest acting ever. So, I don't know, that show was pretty fun.
It was.
We went to the Rysian Festival, but we didn't stay very long, Jane, did we?
No. It's a long day.
It was a
Every
long
day
day.
is a very long day in the sun. There is so many things to do.
Yeah,
So come 11:30 at night.
And dance parties are not normally our scene anyway,
Yeah.
but especially when we're tired. So we parted company after that. You went to bed. And then I decided to go to the Garrett Wong comedy show. I don't have any pictures from that, but that was excellent. I really enjoyed the Garrett Wong. It was kind of like a stand-up, but not. Where he Harry Kim from Star Trek Voyager. And then this is the next day. This is the day that Adam finally reunites with us. Here we're at the Windjammer, which is the buffet. This guy in the Talaxian makeup, getting his picture here with the Neelix standee. There's Adam. So that was
He wore that every day.
He did. He even wore it in the hot tub. I think I have a shot
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
coming up.
But you know what? So this is actually later. This is lunch. We went to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Because we remember I came and you guys were already eating breakfast when I showed up.
Yep.
Oh, right.
Yep.
There's a shot of our doors. So we were trying to promote the podcast as well. Adam had all his business cards kind of out there. And then we walked over to Cozumel for a bit. It was very much to me like it was a little bit better than Costumai, I guess. It had like more stores, but it also felt more commercial. It had a Margaritaville.
People were pretty aggressive on the sales.
They were more aggressive, I think. In
They were
Costumai.
more aggressive in Costumaya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But at this point, we knew Adam is back with us. He has been allowed to come on the ship, and then we went back to our rooms a little bit.
That was a
after
fun
this.
day, actually. We went to the pool and we went to.
Yeah. Right. That was also the day that Kate Mulgrew aborted. So as we were leaving that port, she comes on. Hello, this is your captain speaking.
Yeah, that was good.
There's our Talaxian in the hot tub as well. And then we watched that sunset that night.
Yeah, we did. Yes.
I was
Nice.
with the Brat Pack at that point.
Yeah.
This was the holodeck malfunction mashup. So I decided to wear my Star Trek Enterprise garb, but I wore some Babylon 5 Earth Alliance things. Looking back on it, I should have taken this farther. I should have taken this costume to the point of like wearing. I had my Battlestar Galactica like tank top. I could have worn underneath with the dog tags, but I didn't really put that together. So that's my one regret. One of my few regrets from that night. And then so Adam, you went to both shows that night. You went to go see the Rat Pack because they were kind of doing their re-performance from we had already seen it. And then
it was
we went
good. It was I don't think I loved it as much as you, but I liked it a lot. I enjoyed this more than you did, I think.
Of course I referenced Babylon 5, Sam.
And then Jane fell asleep in this.
Got a question here. What was our favorite breakfast, dinner, and supper item at the buffet?
I like breakfast the most at the buffet.
Breakfast was bacon and eggs, which I'm traditional.
But they had some good, like they had the eggs Benedict. They had some really great hash, like you know what I mean, with the bacon and
corned beef hash.
Corned beef hash, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one day I got some great fish and tartar sauce. I really enjoyed that for some reason. But yeah, it was okay. Like for me, the food was like
there's lots of it. You have to be careful not to overeat because you can. And,
yeah, they did a good job with the gluten free, the no added sugar, and catering to people. There was tons of variety. Well, not tons, but there's lots of variety.
You have to be make sure you drink a lot too, because there isn't unless you're drinking booze. There's really not a lot of drinking stations. No,
it's hard to get even just a cup of water sometimes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a challenge for me. I wish I had, but I didn't want to buy like the drink package because I knew I wouldn't get the most out of it.
Well, you have to drink you'd have to start in the like at 9 a.m. morning and go
to make it.
Even if you get so it's $100 a day if you want the booze drink package. It's $30 a day US if you want just a soft drink package. And I was like, I'll never drink $30 of soft drinks in a day. So it's just I didn't do any of that. But sometimes I just wanted a cup of water, and you get like these little cups. So that was probably my least favorite part of the dining experience. I
bought the coffee package, which was like I don't know, like $40 for 15 shots of espresso based drinks. I thought that was worth it. Kind of made them about 50% off. So I enjoyed that, getting real good coffee. I think that was worth it for me.
So we all went to the opera show that night on the Wednesday. It was Robert Picardo. He was kind of featuring all of the opera that had been done in Star Trek, including Worf with his Klingon opera in Next Gen and in Deep Space Nine, as well as all the times that the Doctor does it in Voyager. So he brought along this tenor opera star, Arturo Chacon Cruz. He's one of the top tenors in the world, as far as I understand. Plays often at the New York Met. His wife was also there, and they, I thought, he did like Hallelujah, and they even sang the original series theme. How much did you two like that show?
Well, I closed my eyes for a bit because, again, long days. Just to say quickly, I would have switched our show and our dinner. We went with the early dinner, late show. I would have flipped that up for the next, if we went again, is early show, late dinner. Because I found
these were starting at 9:30, right?
9:30, sitting there for 2 hours. And then by the end of the day, I didn't want to go to the parties or anything because you lose your momentum, kind of. So I would have preferred to.
You would have done a different schedule.
I would have done a different schedule because it would be you go to the show, and then you would have dinner, and you're just more pumped, and then we could have gone to a pub and had some conversations, and then gone to bed. I think I would have preferred it in that order.
Yeah.
So again, I enjoyed the show, closed my eyes for a bit, but then I rewatched it in the room. I think Sam asked there, did we watch on TV? Like what there were on our TV, we had all channels with all the shows.
What channel did you watch the most on the cruise?
So there was a panel channel. So they replayed the panels. So I watched this one in the afternoon from the room. So I really did enjoy it at that point, at that time.
And they were also just playing episodes of Star Trek Voyager, episodes of Deep Space Nine. No Next Gen for some reason.
No Next Gen.
But original
they played
series.
every movie in sequence over and over and over again.
There was like a Discovery Channel, I think, too.
There was
a Strange New World channel.
And then there was an animated series and Lower Decks.
Lower Decks. Yeah. So the one I watched the most, Sam, was probably the Voyager channel. I found that I was really enjoying watching those episodes back. There were so many of the Voyager cast present too, which would kind of made it a cool experience. And
I had the
they,
movies on Sam.
So I watched the movies a little bit here too. So this is that holodeck malfunction party night. There was a band 47. I think I was just like, nah, I'm good. That was that woman with the Klingon makeup who never took it off, basically for 3 days.
On Saturday, it was falling off.
It was starting to fall off here, but she got the most out of it. Oh, I'm losing the image here again. So that was probably the channel we watched the most. So that kind of did it for day 4. Then day 5 was the Thursday. That was the Belize day. So we got up early.
Got up very early.
Very early. I think we went for breakfast.
Yep.
Yep.
And then, so we didn't dock in Belize, right? It's like there's no, you can't, the cruise ship can't accommodate it. So
it's too shallow.
Too shallow.
So you have to be they call tendering. I was not familiar with this concept, but you basically get on a smaller boat from your boat. So there was even a boat in between, a boat that's specifically designed to help you get from the cruise ship onto another ship. Like an intermediary, and then we got on that, and then it took us to the port of Belize in Belize City, where then we got in line because the excursion we had signed up for was snorkeling. So we got on we get in the snorkel line. They tried to sell us lunch. You were having none of that. I go on these excursions, and I don't like these lunches they give us. So they're weird food, or I don't think those were your direct words, but that was sort of the feeling, right?
I've been burned on group tours and group food in like Italy and stuff like that. So I was like, what's this all about? Anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it was. Here's us on our way to in the tender ship.
Oh, look at those happy faces.
We were so happy at this point. Did you guys like the port of Belize? Did you enjoy that part?
The port. We didn't do too much in the port. We
just stood in line really.
Yeah.
We got another boat.
So we got on another boat, and then we had boat trouble. We had engine trouble in that boat, so it would have normally taken about an hour to get out to where the snorkeling is. It took us 2, in our case. So it was pretty crammed. We were all getting pretty tired, and they were trying to fix the engine as we're going. So people had to get out of their seats and get back in their seats. None of us could sit together. We were all kind of spread out for that particular thing. But Adam took some nice shots of us as we were snorkeling. It was nice, but it was crowded. I feel like there was too many people in our group.
So initially, we did it. It was a 2-part snorkel. So it was rays and sharks was part 1, and then traditional snorkeling, I guess, for the second part. The rays and sharks part, I found, luckily I didn't get kicked in the head because it was a little busy how they set it up. I didn't enjoy that. But once I started swimming off by my own, I found open areas, and it was so cool to see in the distance shark coming at me, nurse sharks. But at one point I was swimming and sharks swam right below me. I loved it personally, but.
I was okay. I enjoyed it, but not the travel part of it. It was. Yeah. But there's a shot of the underbelly of the ship where they were trying to fix the engine. A couple of the crew getting right in there. Somebody had to deliver a part to us from another boat at one point. So it was truly an away mission. I felt like it was one of those away missions where there's something goes awry, and we had to make our way back. Mm-hmm. I also got incredibly sunburned this day.
It wasn't, but when we headed out, it wasn't sunny.
It wasn't sunny. It was overcast, and I didn't pack a swim shirt. So in retrospect, I just wish I had worn my shirt. I thought that maybe I would not get burned in that water, but that is not the case. My back got very, very burned in the process of this. So it's not like I've never been sunburned before, but sometimes you need a reminder, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm going the wrong way. So yeah, this is the little port we stayed in for.
So that's the island we went to. So we did, So we did the sharks and rays part, and then they took us to another little area, which is the reef, and we jumped in, and because of the current, they got us to jump in, and then they moved the boat. So we just kind of swam with the current, and they picked us up at another part of the reef.
Right, and they had to put our flippers on for us.
Yep. So we jumped in, put the
we
flippers.
all got separated again. We were not together.
No.
I was in a different group.
I tried my best to get up to you, but you kept on going.
Well, I was. They were saying I had to follow.
I know
them.
the boat was really cramped for sure. That's a critique of mine.
Yeah.
So we jumped in, got our flippers on. Super cool. Was immediately got in the water, and someone's like dolphins. So I look down, and there's like a mama and a baby dolphin swimming like beneath me. Like, it was
And I could
so
hear
cool.
I could hear their little sonar. They
Yeah.
were like talking to each other.
Yeah.
I think the mother was saying, "Run" or
Yeah,
swim.
like,
I
where the hell
suppose.
are we? Like, let's get away from these people.
You know.
And then like half a minute later, I look down and I see like 3 or 4 people in their scuba gear, like way down below. I personally thought that was super cool too.
It was like you saw wildlife, but I was like, they're just people. Like,
I know, but I've never been in the water seeing like scuba divers swimming beneath me. I don't know, it was a new one for me. So
I saw the screwdrivers too. And
Did you?
My group didn't see the dolphins. We saw more eels though.
eels.
Yeah, I didn't see
I didn't see
those,
any
yeah.
eels. So I know we all saw different things. Sometimes you were very close to this coral, and they said, "Don't touch it, because you'll kill it. Don't touch it, because some of it will set your skin on fire." But there
Fire
were
coral.
There was times where you were like, where you're on top of the water and you're kind of swimming over top of it, and you're getting pretty.
There
close
was
to it.
one point, like generally it was to our right, but at one point I think we had to, I feel like we all had, we crossed it, and I was like, oh gosh, like I'm right above it, so I'm like, quickly, let's go quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't want to touch it,
Yeah, we got to the port. I think we. At this
so we
point-
went to the island first.
Island. I'm sorry, it's an
Yeah.
island with a port. And we didn't do much there, right? We got a drink.
We had 45 minutes.
We had I had some nuts. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
And then I kind of, we headed back. The trip back felt long too. So by the end of it, we were pretty tired.
We were tired,
We
yeah.
got back to the room. That was the night we also did the podcast live from Deck 6, Adam. You and I were on the Next Generation podcast here.
That was fun.
We ended up taking the group around the ship a little bit, mostly the promenade here. You got to see. This was also, one of the.
That's a good one. I like how you were very stoic there.
Yeah, this
Good
was this the costume party night? I think no. This was the Star Trek formal night. So everyone was more. I was kind of in more my dress uniforms. Yeah, Adam trying his best to play an action figure there.
There was a lot of Nemesis dress uniforms for that party.
Yeah, like the white tuxedo style uniforms. I wore my Wrath of Khan style.
I wore my Romulan Commander original series.
Yeah, which you didn't get as much recognition for as you thought.
No, because I brought, I don't know if you have a picture of my Elcar's dress, but man, I couldn't walk 2 feet without people complimenting me on that. Just a dress I had bought with the Elcar's pattern.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a shot of that, but.
But yeah, so it was like,
And in terms of the show that night, it was the Hollywood Squares, the Star Trek Squares show. We got there a little late actually. We were late at dinner. It was okay, but wasn't my favorite either. I'd say this and The Family Feud were my least favorite shows. And
Yeah, I didn't think it was okay.
yeah. Just some more shots there. This is probably the next day. I remember, I was trying to find. Was that when we were trying the scavenger hunt?
yeah, we did a scavenger hunt.
We didn't get very far. We got 2 stickers.
We got 2
And then we
stickers.
gave up.
And then we gave up.
Right. But they had Babylon 5 prints. So it's like, Babylon 5 is here. You're right, Sam. I need more. This was also the T-shirt day. So they hand out free drinks on T-shirt day at the party because they want so many people to show up in the Star Trek shirts, which we're wearing again right now. Along with our hats. Chase Masterson kind of hosted that. Lita from D Space Nine. It was loud. There was a Gizmo mascot there that Adam got a picture with as well. And then that was we also went to the Nana Visitor. It was called Ask Mama Nana. And so I'd say that maybe this wasn't your favorite panel, Adam? No.
It wasn't anything to do with Star Trek, number one.
No.
It was her giving advice. Listen, she's found her way and has become quite spiritual and also very meditative. But and listen, I don't want to slam it at all. People found it useful and actually got answers, but it became. I actually left, so it wasn't. You guys
There were some people asking career advice, and you were it wasn't much. It was kind of it was like if Counselor Troy was a real person and she was not a visitor.
Yeah.
And was kind of hosting kind of a group therapy
session.
You know?
Yeah.
And so for some of them, I think it was very helpful. But I think for me, I was by the end, I was I'm ready to go. But I learned in that panel that she had been abducted and kidnapped and assaulted when she was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, something I had never heard of. Apparently, that had been out for a couple years. because she had talked about it on the Gates McFadden podcast a few years ago. But that was a shocking revelation for me. And she was talking about how that had changed her life and who she became and coming to grips with all that many years later. So that was the most memorable part of that session for me. I don't know if there's anything else to say with that one, but then.
But one thing I think we should point out too is that through the lunches and just on board, you see people walking around, and people meaning Star Trek cast members all the time. Like we saw Tim Russ on that Wednesday,
right?
Or Wednesday all day long, and we saw Linda Park, and we saw Roseanne Dawson and Roxanne Dawson.
I went by Roxanne Dawson and Jonathan Del Arco. They were heading to the casino one night. Along with Roxanne Dawson's husband was also there.
Nicole DeBoer, we passed one morning.
We passed her a few times. Casey Biggs a few times, but
Delancey, I was at the Windjammer, the buffet with him.
A couple times I saw Robert Picardo or Denise Crosby kind of about on the promenade. But generally, I found that the celebrities were. I didn't run into them very much. In general, I think Jonathan Frakes in particular, I found was pretty.
I did not see him out and about. Yeah.
So I was like, are they just hanging out in their room the whole time? But maybe
it depends on the personality.
I remember what that was the one night I was kind of just trying to look around for something on deck 10, and then I ran into the security. So a lot of them were staying on deck 10, and they had sort of they don't want the fans just showing up and whatever. There was but maybe there's good reason because there's maybe some less than desirable people. There was a whole thing about this announcement comes on from JT, our cruise director. He's like, just to remind you, consent is needed before
cosplay is not consent.
Cosplay is not consent. Referring to, there was a woman dressed as an Orion slave girl, and I guess someone tried to fondle or touch her or something, and it was not welcome and it was not okay. And so it's kind of crazy that.
But that's the standard message when you go to Fan Expo or other conventions as well. You see that sign. You see that sign put up a lot.
Yeah, it shouldn't to me. It should almost it's explicitly implied. I don't even know why you have to tell people that, but I guess you do.
You do.
So that's sad, but a few people ruin it for all kinds of other people, make other people feel uncomfortable. But I don't know. It's what to do in this. So maybe the celebrities tucking away was probably for their best interest in some cases. And what else? So that night it was more of that costume party. I dressed up as just Voyager style. You were in your Dr. Miranda Jones gear that night. Mm-hmm. There's a great Prodigy outfit. But I think by this point, guys, at least Jane and I were starting to feel a bit ill. There was something going around the ship, some kind of bug. And I was starting to feel it this day. Plus, I had that sunburn, which wasn't helping things. So I'd say this was the night I was kind of really feeling wiped. But we got to see some cool costumes. There was some really creative things going around. This one was a Sailor Moon. I enjoyed this one with the Mike Myers, Captain Kirk style. The Ursula, Little Mermaid. That's the Orion cosplayer who got touched or whatever. And some Beetlejuice. The Nausicaan mask was really cool. Beetlejuice outfits. I love this guy with that phaser rifle. I thought looked amazing. Look how he made it himself. The Salt Vampire from original series. I think this won something, right?
Yeah.
Best homemade costume.
Best homemade costume, yeah.
So, how much did you enjoy seeing all the costumes, Jane?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great.
This was Friday night, right? So yeah, I like this. This was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was kind of I think this is
did it
the
great.
last big party night because we had.
What was
one more
the
day
show
after this.
that night? What was the show?
The show that night. Good question.
Oh, it was War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
War of the Worlds. Yes, we didn't take any pictures for that. They were more explicit about. So John Delancey directed this on stage version of War of the Worlds, the Orson Welles version, right? Is it Orson Welles or is it H.G. Wells?
H.G. Wells.
H.E.
It's H.G. Wells, not Orson Welles, from the 1930s, and done very authentically in that style. I've only seen the Tom Cruise movie of War of the Worlds. I don't really know that well. I know that people got scared when they heard the original broadcast and all that.
I've heard that that's not true though. That's a myth.
Is it?
Yeah, when they said it, I'm like, no, I've heard like we should Snopes that, but like that people were smarter than that they didn't actually get scared, freak out.
Yeah, well, but like I could buy it too because it is pretty like the way that they present that show and the way you hear it. It sounds like real reporters talking about like we're in the New Jersey and these aliens are here and we've seen them come out and then the destruction and people getting killed and it's very well done. If that's exactly what people. Yeah. So had a lot of the Star Trek actors, but a few of like the people on stage I didn't recognize. I feel like they were either fans or somebody else they had pulled in for the show to do various voices. Mm-hmm. It featured Kate Mulgrew heavily as one of like the professors. It had who else was in it? Like Eugene Cordero from Star Trek Lower Decks was in it quite a bit. As well.
Casey Biggs was in it. He was in a lot.
He was in it a lot. He was often
Jeffrey
playing,
Combs.
Jeffrey Combs plays like
excellent.
this angry militant guy who's like, get off my land and get away from my supplies. And
Jonathan Frakes was in it for a minute.
he's only he's not in it that much really. Connor Trinneer was in it, others as well, but it was done very seriously, like very very earnestly as well. So that was really cool to see. I think we also missed that we had seen the show. Was it the night before we went to the Improv where they watched the original series episode
Assignment
of Earth? Yeah. So that was kind of fun. Assignment Earth, where they were just watching it on screen. It was like Ethan Phillips and Robert Picardo and Eugene Cordero and Denise Crosby, and that show was packed. Remember, I couldn't get a seat. You took like one of the few seats that was available. And they just watched the episode. They weren't that familiar with it, but they were just kind of like, "Why is there a cat here?" And people just were assigned voices.
What we found out is that there's not a lot of dialogue in that episode.
No, so or like these murmurings or whatever else. So it was funny, but I think I enjoyed the script read they had done a couple nights earlier more and all that. So, but hey, Assignment Earth, Sam, it happened. What else? So the next day, I got my picture with Jeffrey Combs. I told him, "You were so good last night in War of the Worlds." He said, "Thanks." Then there was a whole thing where I had to go get my picture with J.G. Hertzler. Why is this never working? Where I had missed it because I thought that I thought he was doing like the pictures in the Klingon makeup on one day and not without, but it turns out it was all the same day.
There was a lot on that Saturday. We had a Deep Space Nine panel,
A Voyager panel.
the Voyager panel. We had
There was
JG,
the auction.
the auction, the Hertzler thing, going on,
The Hertzler and O'Reilly show that we went to as well.
and Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah, so just about this auction, because you were there the longest, Adam, like some things were selling for big money,
So
right?
they were doing a lot of like posters and signed things, like autograph things, and they were going for good money. But then they brought up an astronaut who had actually been in space fixing the Hubble telescope. And what he had done, he'd take a piece of his deep space walk, I guess, outfit or costume, not costume, but his uniform. Suit, thank you. And tore a piece off of it and put it under glass along with the picture of the Hubble. And so this became like, so Robert Picardo, who was emceeing, while JT there, he was doing the bidding part. But so this started off, and Picardo goes, "Okay, these are all like pretend space things. Now we're going to auction off the real thing that's been in space and everything." So it started off like he started at $250. Well, that went back and up, and imagine $250. They're going in $50 increments at one point, and then they jumped up to $100. It got to $15,000. Okay, U.S. And before that happened, you can see the astronaut talking to Picardo. They were whispering back and forth. And then Picardo comes forward and says, "Look, this can go on all day." They only had 10 minutes because the Deep Space Nine panel was coming up.
And they were raising money for the Pancreatic Cancer Foundation, I believe.
So what the astronaut said, actually have another one. And so the two people bidding back and forth to each other agreed that they would each pay $15,000 for the same thing, essentially. So it was...
I remember one of the other items was the Robert Picardo brought like a sign from the wrap party of the first season of the Starfleet Academy show, which they just wrapped apparently, and Robert Picardo's The Doctor is part of that show, and it was signed by all the cast, and that went for $7,000, just like a piece of cardboard because he said he had stole it from the set. It's kind of a unique item, and so that was interesting to see. There was somebody who just like that opera singer that Robert Picardo brought was like, hey, if you want him to sing like a love song to your significant other, who wants to bid on that? I think that went for $3,000. $2,500 just for that guy to sing a little song, and I think his wife was right next to him. You get a tax receipt, you're supporting a good cause, but there was some big money going around, as well for that. And then the panels. So there was the Voyager panel, number 2. So you had missed the one earlier in the week, Adam, but this was the second one that had Ethan Phillips, Robert Picardo, Kate Mulgrew, Roxanne Dawson.
Oh, we forgot to talk about Brandon Braga on the day before.
Yeah, I guess we went to the Brandon Braga panel the day before. It was just him and Lolita Faccio. That was one of my favorite things completely, like hearing from a writer, because the actors, they talk about their performances, but generally speaking, I find most of these actors are not fans of Star Trek or science fiction very much. But of course, Brandon Braga being one of the writers and was showrunner of Voyager and Enterprise, and he had worked, of course, on Next Generation. He was a co-writer of like the All Good Things finale on Next Gen. Like that was my favorite part. I was like, I could have sat there and listened to him for 2 or 3 hours and asked him more questions.
BRB, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Right.
Just keep going.
Yeah, no problem. Where was I on the
Voyager panel.
The Voyager panel. I talked about this with Tim Russ last night in our chat, but when Roxanne Dawson said to Kate Mulgrew, like, I've been watching the show on the ship, and guess what? We were really good when we were on Voyager. And I was like, yeah, everyone clapped and everyone, they were a great show. That was a great show. Amongst like all the Star Trek shows are great, but like I think Voyager is definitely one of my favorite casts ever. Mm-hmm. The dynamic, how they played off of each other. And, it's clear how much that cast really has affection for each other too, and I think that translates well. Where, later on we went to the Deep Space Nine panel. And, of that group, it's only Nana Visitor was the only, like, real regular that was there. Like, you had Jeffrey Combs and Casey Biggs, but they were guest stars. They would come in and out, like just like Chase Masterson, just like, I can't remember who else was on that panel. It was maybe another guest star, right? Esri Dax, actually. No, she was a regular, but she was only there, of course, for season 7, Nicole DeBoer.
So what I want to find out is all these panels. That one, so I was feeling ill, so I think I went back to the room and I tried to watch it from the TV, but I might have fallen asleep. So can we access these anywhere? Are they on YouTube?
I hope so, because
so.
They don't want us to take pictures or video, but
Yeah.
then they're doing it. But they're also kind of hoping you can get that stuff later if they're going to do that for you, right? So,
Yeah.
Or I would have taken more pictures. Sam, no, I don't think Nana Visitor was on Voyager. She was only on Deep Space Nine.
No.
Yeah, the $15,000 is $21,000
Canadian.
Yeah,
Crazy.
does escalate up there. Like, did you have a favorite panel? Was it Brandon Braga for you?
Brandon Braga for me. I enjoyed that more. Then I liked the Voyager panel.
I liked the Voyager panel better than the Deep Space Nine panel.
Yeah,
I thought
too.
the Deep Space Nine, it's not quite the same.
It was interesting to hear the Jerry Ryan, Kate Mulgrew tension.
Right. Well, the other thing we haven't talked about is the documentary, which we saw at different times on the ship. Jane and I got to see it one night, maybe before you came back. I think the Tuesday night, and then you got to see it like maybe that morning, or that sometime.
I saw it on for Friday morning. Friday morning.
Yeah. And just to give you, I don't want to spoil too much. Like, the one thing I did learn in that was that I never knew that Ronald D. Moore really worked on Voyager. And
it doesn't sound like he did. Like it sounds like he was pushed down.
He seemed like he was there for like a minute. He was there for part of season 6 because he had just come off Deep Space Nine. Him and Brandon Braga, Ronald D. Moore wrote First Contact together. They wrote Generations together. They wrote All Good Things together. They wrote some of the greatest Star Trek episodes and movies ever. But now Ronald D. Moore was working under Brandon Braga on the Voyager team because he had just come from Deep Space Nine when that show ended, and there was conflict, and they ultimately stopped working together, and they had a rift for a while, and then Ronald D. Moore went off to lost Adam again, went off to do Battlestar Galactica, and that, not to ruin it, but they're okay now. But like, what else in that Voyager documentary did you want to, you thought that there was a lot of emphasis on the whole Genevieve Bujold?
Yeah, a little bit too much without her having a say. So they really focused in on how it wasn't the right fit for her, whatnot. Move on,
I wonder if they asked her for an interview.
Yeah. But yeah, this was the draft mode. So once it comes out in a couple of months, it'll be different.
Yeah, it was maybe the second cut, because according to Tim Russ last night, he's like, I saw the very, very first cut. This was kind of a recut of sorts, and it's very similar to the What We Left Behind DS9 documentary, but it's also different in some important ways. Because a big part of that Deep Space Nine documentary was like, what if we had a hypothetical season 8? Let's get the writers together. And I think that part of it was missing here, because they're not going to do a season 8 Voyager. They got home, right? So, and we're already starting to explore what happened to some of those characters afterwards. So would you say that you liked it more or less than the Deep Space Nine documentary?
I love them both.
Equally?
I'm not going to.
They're like children?
They're like my children.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Or the cats?
They're like my cats.
Yeah. How about you, Adam? How did you feel as good about it, or?
I like them the same. I mean, I like them equally. I think they're just different. And, I learned things on both. I mean, I think Deep Space Nine was actually probably polished better because we've seen the end version versus the draft version.
Right.
Because it was a little bit in the Voyager one that just went a little long, like the
space stuff.
Like I think the previous captain, what's her name?
Genevieve Bujold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was too
the fact
long.
that she's like, maybe it would have been better for me if she had like a little bit of an interview talking about why she left and this kind of stuff, but that's not present for any of it. I don't know if that's a good idea.
If I was her, I wouldn't be very happy with that. Like, it just.
Yeah, it was a bit more negative. I think they do it in an effort to really pump up Kate Mulgrew and how great she was for the role and how she should have had it all along.
Well, then it needs to be cut down.
It needs to be cut down. That would be my main feedback on that film.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think was missing, because in the Deep Space Nine documentary, they do a lot of special attention on the guest stars, like the Jeffrey Combs, like the J.G. Hertzlers, these characters that weren't on every episode, but they were a big part of that show. And I feel like they focused a lot on like there's 10 leads really, because Jennifer Lean leaves and then Jerry Ryan comes in. But they didn't talk about like Icheb, and they didn't talk about the Borg kids, and maybe some of their more prominent, and Q, I guess John Delancey was in and out of that show quite a bit in some episodes. So I think a little more emphasis on on the strength of their guest stars and some of their bit players would have been nice. But yeah, we saw it. So let us know what you think when you finally when it comes out. We'll probably review it again. Here's my shot with Hertzler. He didn't remember me, too much. It's been about 2 years since we did our interview. I was like, we have the same birthday, remember? But he's like, will you send it to me? And this is a good reminder to myself. I should send him the link to when we did that interview. The Deep Space Nine panel, Nana Visitor, Casey Biggs, Jeffrey Combs, Chase Masterson, and Nicole DeBoer. There's Nicole DeBoer from that. It was interesting, like how Nicole DeBoer is like, I still haven't seen every episode of Deep Space Nine. Even Tim Russ last night on our interview, he's like, I still haven't watched every episode of Voyager. It's even 30 years later. So it's kind of Kate Mulgrew also was asked that the last night, like, what's your favorite Star Trek outside of Voyager? She's like, none. I don't watch them. So that was the shot of. I was also participating in like this run group where like you could represent your deck and your quadrant for like this race around the ship. So we came second. Deck 8 came second, which is our deck, and the Beta Quadrant also came second. Third. Beta Quadrant came third. Sorry. And last night, this is us. How are you feeling that last night as we were heading to the Cape? We were the only ones who dressed up.
Yeah, some others did, but yeah. It was. I'm glad we dressed up. I'm glad we did it, but I almost didn't unless Adam
there with a couple
asked
red
if we were
shirts.
going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple red shirts. We went to the this was the Robert O'Reilly and J.G. Hertzler
That was something.
vaudevillian show. This was something.
Yeah.
First rehearsal, second rehearsal.
First rehearsal.
Some of it was better than others. These guys.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
It was out there.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I credit the creativity of it all.
And it was only an hour.
They started doing Shakespeare at one point, and that was really good.
That was the best part.
That was the best part. Them trying to do a rap song, not quite being able to lip sync to it. You know, I don't think they had very good monitors on stage for it or whatever. So that was a challenge. And then Kate Mulgrew she held court in the final night. She did this whole Q&A, taking questions from people. I held up my hand at one point, but then I eventually put it down because, you know, you couldn't get to it. And then it was time to pack and go after that.
Yeah.
You know,
We should go. We should go through our pillow. Back to that. That's one of our our pillow gifts. There. That was the first night we got poster.
We got a poster. Which Adam, did you keep yours?
I got 2 of them.
You got 2 of them. We chose to not bring that back, but we got. You know, we also have it in the program here. Like,
I can give you one.
No, it's okay. I have it like this here in the program is probably like I wouldn't want as big of a version as they gave us. Anyway, and they gave us fanny packs. They gave us the hats, the shirts. What else? The coffee.
Coffee. The hats. You got the fanny pack? All right. I'm wearing the fanny pack.
Yeah, they got the fanny pack,
Cool.
which I because my Starfleet pants that I wore many nights didn't have.
Oh, I should. I didn't send the picture. I gotta say.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, I have no F's to give anymore. I'm putting this fanny pack on my fanny. Right, and so they're like, well, Jane and Adam say that's not where you're supposed to wear it.
You don't put a fanny pack on your fanny.
I think you do. You know, you don't want it in the front. It's got to go on the back.
On the hip.
On the hips, maybe. I don't know. But I was trying to. I think the night I'm in that Voyager style uniform, I was wearing it.
We got some buttons.
Oh yeah, there was buttons.
Oh, and all week they gave us a lanyard, Star Trek: The Cruise lanyard. I got like my little grudge cat. So I got a lot of stuff from people's doors that they gave out.
The Janeway coffee.
Great stickers.
The grudge cat.
Magnets.
Stickers, a lot of fans brought stuff too, and like you were able to collect that from the doors.
There's a
So
cool
that was
little Borg cube I got from a door.
Okay.
I think that's my favorite thing. Yeah.
And I think so all that was great. I thought like the so it's called Entertainment Cruise Productions puts on the whole cruise. Like it's a private charter. It's not Royal Caribbean, even though it's their ship. And I guess the crew is them. But that was like they did a great job with the takeovers. We went to like the Q&A one day where like the organizers were talking about what they go through in that process. That was great. But I think like I was also starting to wind down. I wasn't feeling well by the end of it. I was ready to go home in some ways because I think Chris asked earlier, do you guys have post-festival depression yet?
No.
No, I think I had COVID depression or whatever we got.
I think the timing's right. Like I wouldn't have wanted to go much longer because we'd seen everything.
And you were only there. You missed the first 2 or 3 days, right? So
yeah, I know. But I mean, if I'd been there for 7 days, it would be the same feeling because it was stuff every day. Is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I noticed, particularly on that Saturday. I mean, if it wasn't for those discussions, it would have been a tough day because people were definitely putting away their costumes and getting ready to go. But because I had boarded in Cozumel and not in the United States, I had to be the first one. I learned that I had to be the first one off the ship on the Sunday morning.
Right.
So I went down, and because Kate Mulgrew also boarded in Cozumel, she was with me and her partner and I guess a press secretary. I don't know what it was. Assistant. But the 4 of us were talking a little bit. She was very quiet, but her I think, Dave, we should also say here is that her partner was very apologetic, for me being Canadian, as most Americans were on that cruise. It was, I think there's a general feeling that they made the wrong decision with Trump. Go figure. But other than that one group that you met, they were. Remember that dinner we had on the Friday night with that couple? They were hilarious.
Oh, from New York.
Like the New York to North Carolina
Transplants,
transplants.
yeah.
Where I was like, oh, I got sunburned. It's my fault. He's like, are you sure it's your fault? I think, are you sure? And he was like, just like he was very sarcastic, funny kind of guy.
But
Like,
again, very apologetic with the choices the government's making against Canada. Right
yeah.
now.
I only met like one pro-Trump couple, and they were nice enough, but they were from Kansas, and they were. Yeah, it was kind of. I felt like must have felt out of place because this was a very progressive ship in terms
Liberal.
of like liberal.
Very liberal.
The LGBTQIA representation was more than I was expecting. Like it was. You said maybe up to 50%, Adam. I don't know. It was high. So it was nice to see. As I mentioned, I didn't know Sean was gay until I got to put connected those dots on the next day. And so it was kind of but I think because there was all this stuff happening in the news as well. Trump's throwing trans people out of the military, and there's this feeling of dread. I remember when we were leaving the ship. Someone said, "We're back in the USA. The good feelings are over now. It's time to back to reality."
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a damper. We caught up with you though at the airport because you had to be first off the ship, and then we got off, and then we get to the Miami airport, and that was a long day because our flight got canceled and then rebooked, and we were supposed to leave at 2:00 that day, but we ended up. I think we finally took off around after 5.
5:37.
And I think part of me by the end of that morning was just happy we had a flight and we were going to get home because there was other Canadians we were running into where they had to get to Thunder Bay or they had to get to St. John, New Brunswick, and they were like their day must have been just hell because they had to get to Toronto and get to or to Montreal and get to their connecting flight. And so they had a rough go.
Well, I checked in. I walked in my door at 10 to 10. You guys must have been 10 o'clock.
Yeah, long day.
It was a long day, yeah. But part of me just was like, but that couple we met from Thunder Bay, it seemed like they were going to have to wait till Monday.
Longer days.
Right? So,
Yeah.
And they had a 7-year-old with them, and it was kind of like, it was tough. And not feeling the best either, but, you just got to get home, So I was just like, I think I'm done with air travel for the immediate future, at least international air travel. Until you don't have that luxury all the time, Adam, because you travel so much for business. What I did take a lot from traveling, especially when we got home, was like Adam's so good. He's so calm. He just, I often was left thinking to myself, what would Adam do? How would Adam react? It's kind of like what would Jesus do, but no, it's what would Adam do? Because you're an inspiration, sir. You keep it together. I'm more of a hothead sometimes, or I get frustrated with. The just the torturous nature of travel or other things in general.
When I'm traveling and I'm looking at these poor, people behind the counters, the attendants and the flight crews and all this, and none of them have any control over the schedules. No. And you see people just lose it on them. We didn't, by the way, on Sunday. Didn't. No. But I have, and I always feel so awful for those. I think that's got to be a horrible job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember, you were talking to the woman at the Air Canada check-in, and she, you said to her, "You're gonna have a rough day," and she's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a rough day because all these cruise ships coming back in, all these people trying to get back to Toronto or wherever, I saw a flight attendant at the curling club on Tuesday, and he was like, "We're a foreign carrier down there. They don't care about Air Canada flights as much, because they'll bump us over a Delta or something like that."
Oh, I didn't know.
So it's something maybe to keep in mind if you're traveling to the States or back. But yeah.
Sam, the flight to Thunder Bay from Toronto is about 2.5 hours. So it's up there. Right. If you're going to drive it, it's like a day and a half. It's far. I think it's a full 24-hour drive up there.
Right. I think at one point the day before or the week before when leading up to the trip, I was like, oh man, if what happens if our flight gets canceled on the Saturday? We can't miss the cruise. We were throwing stuff out there like maybe we have to drive, right? And I hope we didn't scare Callie off in that process because we didn't know what was going on with her dad at that point, but that she was going to be like locked into some kind of a road trip with Jane and I to try to meet you in Florida. Of course, none of that was necessary. Like a couple times, like even when we were getting our flight canceled that morning coming back, and I was just like, well, maybe we can get a flight to Buffalo. Maybe we can do this. And you were like, don't worry. don't worry, they'll get us home. They have to get us home, you know. And I was like, what would Adam do? This is my new
Just wait and see what the solution
wait and
is.
see. You know, don't panic. Don't wait to see how things are going to play out. You know, sometimes
Don't react. That's the thing.
don't react. Don't react. You know, and don't let yourself get miserable over it yet until you know more. So, thank you, sir. That was good. Yeah, and then we came back to our lives. You know, I think so. Adam, you got sick after the fact. You know?
I started feeling crappy on Wednesday, I think, but Thursday was the day I was like, oh my god, my head is pounding. But I feel better today. It's still a little bit congested, but not like it was.
It's some kind of, I think it's some kind of COVID or some kind of variant of that.
I tested. I'm not positive at all, but
No.
We never tested, but it was going from my ears to my sinuses to my lungs. It was kind of jumping all around. Jane lost her sense of taste at one point. Smell, sorry. You know, and so I don't know. Like it kind of makes sense on a cruise ship. You lock in like 5,000 people on a big steel tube, and
Well, I saw some people test positive for the flu or just a COVID or the cold. Any of the above we could have gotten. So
yeah. So here's the real question. You know, a lot of people were saying, "Are you going to come back next year?" There was a lot of like FOMO pressure. Like, are you going to rebook? Are you going to
big
rebook?
discount for rebooking, especially when you're on the cruise.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know, next year it's the a very similar ship. It's called, instead of the Explorer of the Seas, it's the Adventures of the Sea. Same class of ship. They're going to Bahamas and a few other places. But I think, you know, Adam, you were the first to say, maybe in the future, but not next year. I want to maybe do some other trips. I want to go somewhere else. I was kind of on the fence, but by the time certainly by the time we went through all that Miami travel home stuff, I was like, I'm good for a year at least.
they really push it though. Like, you know, that the fear of missing out, as you said, is it's crazy how hard they push.
They push it hard. Like there's this whole thing with, you know, if you go to 5 cruises, you get to be in this like little club where you get assimilated, you get a green lanyard or whatever.
I think that's too many. It should be like 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that it was an 85% retention rate.
Oh, I believe
Which
it.
is huge.
Because it seemed that we were talking to more people. Like, whenever we said this is our first time, people were like, "Oh my god, you're gonna love it!"
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. What was the big thing like you took away from the whole experience? Something you didn't expect, maybe. That you
Who, Adam or me?
either one, you know, whoever wants to.
I definitely learned. For me, Dave, I a little I don't want to say disappointed, but a little surprised that how many of the cast members actually don't watch the shows. But at the same time, I really enjoyed the Brandon Braga sessions, both of them. I mean, he had the 1-on-1, which was great, and then he was part of the Voyager one. And when he did talk on the Voyager one, he's great.
Yeah, like for me, it was like I thought that we would be a little bit more integrated with the celebrities. You know, that because they talked about that they used to be more like they would go on excursions with the fans and they would be walking, you know, and being at line. And some of them do it, but I felt like on this cruise they were more tucked away. And some of the like more experienced cruisers felt like this year in particular they were more keeping to themselves. They were more, you know, off or whatever.
Yeah, I was really surprised how involved Robert Ricardo was. Like, he is all in. Like, he's clearly an
He
organizer.
was great.
Yeah, he's been on every cruise apparently. So there's like a couple core people like Denise Crosby, Nana Visitor, and him, and maybe John Delancey.
You know, like Jonathan Frakes, we barely saw.
Barely saw him.
No,
Barely
didn't
saw
see him around. No.
You know, and so that part was like a little disappointing for me, but also kind of then you see like some fans kind of just mob these people and they kind of like, you know, trying to monopolize their time and just want to go up and tell their story. And, you know, and if the celebs tried to do that with every person, it would become completely impossible. So, you know, part I didn't ask Tim Russ this last night, but part of me wonders, is it the same as it's always been since you've been going to conventions, or do you feel like the fans are just a bit more pushy these days or more in your face?
More urgent. I think there's a more of an urgency to get a picture and to do this and to, you know, rather than just have a conversation or just give them some adoration or whatever. But yeah.
And maybe this was silly, but what I would have liked was more of maybe this was what formal night was that should have been, but an immersive feeling of being in the dining room or anywhere on the promenade where everyone was dressed up, that I could like sit there and imagine that I was actually on the ship and look around me and see everyone in uniform. And I didn't get that. And I know you can't force that, but I expected, I guess, more participation
Yeah.
in pretending that we were on a starship, I guess. And like, I don't know. I guess that was a disappointment a little bit. They did a great job with the branding and changing things in turbo lifts and whatnot. I guess wish I'd have wanted a
More
little
participation.
little bit more participation. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
No, Terry Farrell was not there, Sam. She's apparently, I think she'll come back. Well, they were also announced. Okay, so maybe the other thing to mention is that they announced next year Star Trek: The Cruise 9 is going to be the 60th anniversary as well of Star Trek as a franchise, going back to the original series. So they announced like Shatner's going to be there, and Walter Koenig, and Terry Farrell was announced for next year. And there was part of me was like, oh man, I would like to go for the 60th year, but I also don't want to go on the cruise next year. And then, we were talking, and we're like, well, it'll be like Star Trek The Next Generation 40th anniversary in 2 years. Maybe that's a good year to go back. Or maybe not. It doesn't have to be that, it would be nice to be there for an anniversary. There was that one couple we met the one night who said, we were going to come, this was going to be our once-in-a-lifetime thing, and now here we are 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. Right? Because they kind of caved to the...
Las Vegas couple, yeah.
Yeah, they were the Tennessee couple is the ones I'm referring to. We met them when you were at the... I think the Rat Pack show or something.
Okay, because the group, the woman and man that we had dinner with on Thursday night, they said the same thing. The one from Las Vegas, they were saying they came. Yeah.
Oh yes, Las Vegas. Yes.
Right. So they were going to be back and whatever, and so like I met some interesting people, but I don't feel like I made that many long lasting friendships either. It was kind of like the thing I was maybe more disappointed with. I thought I would make more connections, and other than Sean Farrick, who I already knew, kind of, but I felt like I was better friends with him over the course of that week. And got to know him more. So that was my the main positive, I think, in terms of a new relationship or an enhanced friendship. But in terms of like a lot of casual conversations I made, I handed out my business card, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of calls or a lot of anything from that. So you can also be kind of drowned out. So that's my own expectations. Maybe I had sort of like this idea I was going to make 3,000 friends, and it's not really that simple or that easy sometimes, And that would be, I think that's all I got to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I compared to other vacations or themed vacations, I mean, it's cool to be on a boat and Sam, by the way, you don't feel like you're on a boat. You don't feel the seas were very smooth when we were on. So we didn't have a lot of up and down or rocking back and forth, nothing like that. But I did like when we had people at our table, there's definitely a common theme and a common love for the show, and we could easily fall into conversations about something, even if it's Doctor Who, like we did that one night.
Yeah, it was kind of the holodeck malfunction night. I thought you saw a lot of creativity there, and then I'd say the costume party as well, because it was just more open. People could be different things.
Yeah.
But there's also different eras of fans too. You can tell that some people aren't as much fan of original series or even next gen, or like they're more like a Discovery fan, or they're more like
lower decks. Love lower decks uniforms.
A lot of lower decks.
Yeah.
Fair amount of Prodigy, but and of course Voyager. I think with it being the Voyager 30th anniversary, and Kate Mulgrew was going to be on the cruise, and so there was a lot of emphasis with that too. Mm-hmm. So, are we ever going to do it again? Do you think Callie would want to do it? In the future?
Yeah, I think that, and we probably could get some other people from the channel to join us at some point.
Right.
Just have to plan it.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, but next year with Shatner, I think I've seen him, I've met him before, and
yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's not the huge.
I'm thinking about that couple from North Carolina and that the husband there, and he was like, Shatner, he likes to go to stuff and try his best to piss off the fans by not talking about Star Trek. He'll go talk about horseback riding, or he'll talk about retiring.
I would agree. I mean, I spent a lot of money to see him and Patrick Stewart speak together when you're thinking it would be amazing, and it wasn't.
Yeah. And I, honestly, by the end, because I love that Brandon Braga thing so much, I was like, I'd rather you bring all the writers here, or more writers than actors. Mm-hmm. It's nice having the actors. It's nice that they can be part of the shows and perform. But I would, maybe cut back on them and more on like people who had more to do with the production, and hear from them, because I personally find that more interesting. in general, So that would be. I think I gave that feedback in the survey as well.
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten a survey yet.
I got one.
Did you?
I got one. Yeah.
Oh,
No, I didn't get one. Well, maybe I did. I haven't looked yet. So
yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a look for that. So I think that we can close the book. Is there anything we didn't miss anything? I think that's all of it.
no.
So thanks for being with us here on the Captain's Yacht. I will. I'm looking forward to doing a cruise again in the future, just not that soon. If you did, I think we've mentioned a few times here tonight, but last night last night we had a whole chat with Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager, and also from he was also on Deep Space Nine. He was also on Next Gen. He was in Star Trek Generations and the Orville. He's been in all kinds of things. Spaceballs. We had an hour and a half chat with him last night. It was so much fun. Getting to know him more. Learning more, talking about music, talking about astronomy. Go have a listen to that if you haven't already. And we'll be back for another episode of The Orville on Monday. We're covering, we promise, From Unknown Graves, Season 3, Episode 7 is our next one coming up. And we also are doing Star Trek The Next Generation on Thursdays, covering episodes. The next one we're doing is A Matter of Honor, where Riker becomes the exchange officer, first officer of a Klingon bird of prey for an episode, which is some fun. So I think, is that everything, guys? I think those are all.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all the main things. All right, everybody. Well, until next time, live long and podcast, and have a good one. Thanks, everyone. Get to cruising.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.